Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault. Hey, GLP-1 Plus Sides community. Before we jump into the podcast, please take the time to leave us a 5-star review on whatever audio platform you're listening to the podcast on. Share your story and how the podcast has helped you. This will help us get referred up in the audio platform so that we can reach more people that need our help, our support, and guidance from our doctors. Help us get loud and change things.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, with results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there, because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim. Welcome to the Plus Sides Podcast. Hi, Kat.
Hi, bravo. Strange. We're here.
I know, we're here. We're going to have a very good conversation today. Everybody hang with us. We've got a little bit of an internet lag with Deb, but we're going to do, John will do all his magic editing stuff so everything syncs beautifully. So just give us some grace because it's an important conversation, okay?
Yep.
But if you're new here, we're going to do quick intros, and then you can meet our lovely co-host Deb that is joining us today. And we'll talk a little bit why we're here and what we're doing, okay? I'm Kim, and this is the Plus Sides. We are a multi-award winning podcast ranked in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world. It is a very reputable source if you are trying to learn about metabolic disease and GLP-1s. We interview people from our community, as well as experts in this field, from researchers to scientists to doctors, obesity specialists, endocrinologists, bariatric surgeons, etc., so that you can learn everything you need to know about why this is and how this works, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And then also so that you can forgive yourself, and realize that this isn't your fault, it's biological, and be able to, I think, just be the healthiest you can be is kind of what we're going for, So that's what we do here. We talk about GLP-1s, but all different stuff. We talk about lots of different things. And so just go ahead and we're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Menopause. Yeah, I know. Fashion,
Menopause,
everything.
Yeah.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Kat, who are you? What you do? Why are you here?
I am Kat Carter. And before we get started, if you could like, if you could give us 5 stars reviews.
If you're watching,
We are
if you're
not
watching,
too proud
liking
to
all the
beg.
things.
If you're watching, click all the things. There we go. We love it. We love it. We appreciate you. Subscribe, all that good stuff.
All the things.
I'm Kat Carter. You can find me on TikTok, Kat Carter 7, or Mrs. Kat Carter on the Instagram. I keep things kind of light and fluffy. If I am Kim's light and fluffy counterpart, so if you want to get a little comic relief and some silliness, you can just come to my content. That's what I used to call myself the spare plus sizer because I'm a nut bar, but I keep things light and fluffy for the most part. So
you're all the things, Kat. So
you
go deep.
I do everything. I can go deep, but for the most part, let's keep it light and fluffy.
It keeps it balanced. She's the middle child. She balances things.
I know, but I love it. I like being light and fluffy and the spare. Or the Ed McMahon to Kim's Johnny Carson. Is that
Sure.
You know what? I'm going south. I'm Kat Carter. You can find me Kat Carter on TikTok. I have lost 100 lbs. It took me 3 years. 1, because I'm a slow responder, and 2, I refuse to give up a good piece of cake and a good glass of wine. So,
especially your cake, damn girl.
Oh, Deb, I got Kim in trouble last week.
Oh my gosh. But I blame at least 5 pounds of my regain on her cake.
Yeah, so I got out of the house. But that's me in a nutshell, because I'm a nut.
Wait a minute. I before you do anything, I just got to tell you about this cake. I can't help it. The food noise is strong. The food noise is strong. I have to tell you this about this cake. So Kat made this cake for my husband's birthday. It's a Mountain Dew cake. So it's like the whole idea of like a Coke cake, but Mountain Dew, right? And the icing is buttercream, and it's like lime, and like I can't even. It is the best effing cake I've ever effing had. And when I'm telling you, John, I polished off half of it. And it was a big ass cake. Oh, the shame.
Well, I said you gotta keep your big ass, right? Was it get an Ozempic butt? We don't have them. We got a big ass cake.
It was worth it. Worth every damn bite.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Remember how we used to do it though? Let's look at it.
That's how I used to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Look at an NSV about this. Remember, we would like secretly binge on it, like nobody knew. Half the cake was missing by the next day.
Yeah. I let it all hang out this time. But it's the first time I did anything like. Well, and keep in mind, it wasn't all in one sitting, right? It was like 2 pieces. a day.
But what I'm saying is, at one time I could put it away.
Yeah, girl.
But no.
Yeah.
That's definitely an NSV. That is a blessing.
Huzzah! NSV. I didn't eat all of the cake all of the time. I'll take it.
Right.
Anyway, yes. All right. So Deb, who are you? What you here? What you here for? What you doing?
Well, I'm Deb Cooperman, and I'm a year into my experience with GLP-1 medication, a little over a year. And I say I'm a writer and a workshop leader and surprisingly now a creator on TikTok, which shocks the living everything out of me. But I just stepped into advocacy because as soon as I got on these medications, I knew I wanted everybody to be able to have affordable access. And so I'm grateful to be able to be here to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, because it's really important stuff.
Very important.
So Deb was on our show a couple episodes back. She was kind enough to join after my sister had passed away. And we both have a connection there that she's also lost her sister. And so I was not, y'all know my best self. I'm kind of all over the place right now, communication wise. And we did a lovely episode where she shared her story. And I just thought that we needed to have a conversation about Medicare, the Bridge Program. But even more important than that, in my opinion, is I think just this generation, right? Being able to discuss what this is going to be like, right? And so I'm more and more people are searching, more and more people are seeking. And with the access being able to expand soon, I think it's not just important to understand the program and what's going to, who's going to get it and who's not, right? But understand the journey, understand if you aren't in that program, what are options that are available to you, and understand as you go on it, like what you need to get from your doctor right? And what you need and what you deserve and how you can advocate for that. And that's all a lot of stuff. So we're going to cover that today. We also have our buddy, Dr. Albert, with us. He's been on the show before, first season. You guys are all
first doctor.
Season. Yes, I know.
I still quote him. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. Me too. And so that's what we're going to do. And we have my friend DeeDee, who's going to join us as well. And her and Deb are going to have a nice conversation. So we are so happy to have you with us. Thanks for joining. Let's get started. All right, let's invite in DeeDee. Hello, DeeDee.
Hi, Kat. Hi, Kim. Hi, Deb. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you too.
Well, we're so glad to have you today. Kat and I are going to kick back just a little so you guys can talk, because one thing that I said to Deb recently is I was like, as much as I can say that I relate, right, that we've all gone through similar stuff with diet culture and stuff, it is different. It just is, And so I want you guys to talk a little bit, because I think I've interviewed both of you now, and you're very similar in terms of what you've gone through. You know what I mean? And I think it would just be nice to connect and go from there. How's that sound, Deb? Good?
Sounds
good.
And
then everybody listening can follow you. You too.
Yes.
Learn, right?
Go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So, DeeDee, I'm delighted to meet you. And these two have been saying that we are going to get on great. So we're going to have to work really hard to sort of stay on where we want to be, because I have a feeling we could go all over the place. But what I really want to know, and I think probably anybody listening will want to know, is a little bit about what your experience was like before you found these, and I know what we're talking about right now is the medication. So what was your life like before you found this medication?
My life before the medication was a constant struggle from the age of, I don't even know what age, probably 12. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Was a constant struggle, either from the incoming at me, you had to be thin, you had to be twiggy, you had to be share, you had to be this, you had to be that. Even if you were this big, if you saw pictures of me, Deb, and I know Kim has seen them, I was this big, but I thought I was this big. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it was constant with my mother being on Weight Watchers. I mean, when cauliflower used to be popcorn. Okay. You put butter salt on it and called it popcorn. Okay. That's how far back I go with Weight Watchers.
So was your mom a heavy person, or was she?
My mother
dated with
my mother was a burlesque dancer, so it was her job to have a great body. But yes, obesity most likely runs in my mother's side of the family. Just looking at my grandmother, okay, and looking at my aunts and everybody, and they struggled, even though they never talked about it, their whole lives. And then you'll see they hit a certain point in pictures and everybody looks like this. Okay, it's just the way it was. So for me, my whole life was constantly watching what I was eating, when I was eating. I mean, before I was 25 years old, I think I had been on just about every diet they published in every teen magazine and Cosmopolitan or whatever. And from there, it went on. When I had my children at 35, I weighed in at 120 when I got pregnant. And after I had my first daughter, I was 190 pounds. That's when it all revealed itself.
Okay.
The whole thing revealed itself.
Pregnancy mucked with your hormones and the whole shebang, right?
And I got gestational diabetes with it. I got the whole thing. Mm-hmm. After that, I went to Weight Watchers. I got off maybe 40 pounds of it. Got pregnant again. Only gained 29 pounds that time. I literally didn't eat. After the kids were born, I managed to, through struggle, through going on fen-phen, through whatever, to keep myself at 140, which for me seemed like a huge number. Okay, it seemed like a huge number.
And now it probably seems like, hey, that's not so bad, right? Because we have
a really now. Good number. But I mean, at the time, coming up in that diet culture where 105, 100 pounds, 140 was like, please. Then menopause and a divorce and my mother dying all hit at the same time. And guess what? My body bounced right back to 188 pounds without me blinking an eye within 6 months. That was about 25 years ago.
Okay.
At that point, it just was a continual struggle every day, doing the things I've heard cats say and that I've heard other people, waiting till the kids go to bed to eat the rest of the ice cream or the food they left on the plate or whatever it was. It was constant, a constant struggle. And I believe probably from about 2010, I learned to eat no sugar, no grains. That helped me not balloon up.
Oh, okay.
So I managed to never go over 200 pounds ever. I could get down to 172. I could get up to 190. Okay. But rarely could I get down to like 150. But until GLP-1s, I hadn't eaten sugar or grains since about 2010. And that was about the only thing that I think saved me from going to 250 pounds.
Wow. Okay. So was that a conscious choice? Like that was like, okay, somebody said this is a diet you should try because you'll.
Somebody, a trainer said to me, not a trainer, a trainer, and it was a podcast. A trainer put it this way, and it made sense to me. When they fatten cattle, what do they feed them? They feed them sugar pellets and grains. They shove grains down geese's throats to make a fatty liver.
Oh, geez.
But if you think about it, okay, and it did help with joint pain. It did help with a lot of things, taking grains in general out of my diet. Did I never eat them? No. I mean, it was 95.5. If I went to a birthday party or something, or I would eat it. But I never felt good about it. I still don't use sugar consciously.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. So what got you to, like, when did you find the medication, the treatment? When did you find that?
I believe it was in December of 23. I was diagnosed with AFib in October of 23. And the first thing all the doctors said was, if you could lose weight, it would help your AFib.
Yay.
Yeah, well, if I could lose weight, I probably wouldn't have AFib.
I never thought of that before. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And so at that time, I think I was doing the Mediterranean diet because it was heart related and walking and doing all the things, and nothing was working. And I heard about the Ozempic. And I finally Googled it, and the Plus Sides podcast came up, and I sat and binged the podcast. I binged it. And then I immediately sent a note to my primary care doctor. I said, I need to come see you. And I went to see her in December of 23. And I said, do you think this will help me lose weight? Everybody wants me to lose weight. And she said, yeah, I think it's going to help you. She said, but I can't get you covered on insurance. And she was gracious enough to have had other patients who figured out ways to access the drugs via, and Kim knows this, and I can say it, through Canada. Canadian pharmacy. I'm one of the first people, I think you guys knew, that was getting it from Canada. And she also knew about the Compound Road. So she gave me those links, and she said, I am not recommending it, but I have patients I know. She was very careful about it.
Yeah.
And I ordered it from Canada and was on it from Canada probably 3, 4, 5 months when they passed Wegovy for cardiac. Kim turned me on to Dr. Albert. Dr. Albert got me covered on Wegovy. Okay. On that first year, then the insurance dissolved itself at the end of the first year. And then Dr. Albert was very helpful in always finding ways to gain access to prescription meds for me, which I have availed myself of until we couldn't anymore, until things happened in the world that made it not doable anymore. Because the prices in Canada now are the same as the prices here.
Okay. So you are currently still taking Wegovy? You're still using Wegovy?
No. When I lost coverage for Wegovy, we switched me right back to Mounjaro because that's where I started. And then we went to the Wegovy because I had coverage. And then when I lost the coverage,
you've been like,
we went back.
Okay.
Okay. And in my humble opinion, I'll take whatever they'll give me. Okay.
Because it's helped with your weight, and has it helped also with the AFib?
Oh my God, yes. And in fairness to my electrophysiology team, yes, there were ablations, okay, but they felt that the GLP-1 was the missing link that helped my sleep apnea, which I didn't have a score high enough to get covered. Let's go there, okay? But I have sleep apnea.
Okay.
That it helped that, which is a contributor. The weight obviously came down, which was a huge contributor. And then it made my ablations that much more successful. So knock on wood, we don't talk about it very much right now because I don't like to say the words. But knock on wood, I mean, I'm having a good long run right now. Okay. Awesome. And so I always say they're going to have to pry these drugs out of my cold dead hands.
I say the same, right? The same thing. You will have to, it's been a year. And as soon as that food noise went off, as soon as I felt like I had no longer had a bottomless pit for a stomach, I was like, no, this is never going away.
My one daughter, Kim and Kat know this, she's a plus size influencer. And she was very anti-GLP-1 for a while. But then at her birthday dinner here in April, we all went to an Italian restaurant. And I'm ordering pasta, and her sister, who's on a GLP-1, is ordering pasta. We're all ordering pasta. And she goes, those GLP-1s are the best thing that ever happened to this family because we're finally eating normal.
Right? DeeDee, I have a friend who saw me after I'd been on for, I don't know how long it was, maybe a couple of months. And she saw a difference. And so she asked me, and we went out to dinner, and I ordered something that, somebody who's on a diet is not going to eat.
Correct.
And she said, can you eat that? And I said, Arlene, I can eat whatever I want. I just want less of the things I used to want. And I want less of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just so much easier to make the choices that are good for me. And I'm hearing that from you as well. That's wonderful. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
It's very freeing. It's very freeing not to pre-read menus before you go to a restaurant or do, I mean,
I still do because I want to get my protein in.
There's that. But for me, because I'm probably significantly older than anybody sitting here, for me, I'm going to say, and I saw recently a study came out that it's helping slow the aging process. And I believe it has taken me back 10 years easily.
Really?
In the things I'm able to do, the way I feel in general, I feel like the clock sort of reversed itself.
Well, I've heard that. I've heard longevity. I've heard better, just feeling better in your longevity. Mm-hmm. So, because I always say, I don't want to live to be 100. I would like to live to be healthy as long as I possibly can. And then if I hit a wall, then I'll say, okay, nice knowing you, world, and we'll go. But I just want to feel well. Mm-hmm. And so this continues to make me feel well. If it's making you feel well, that's the way to do it, right?
Yes. And I don't know if Dr. Albert's aware that I'm no longer on Eliquis. I'm no longer on dofetatide. I'm no longer on amiodarone. I'm no longer on metoprolol. None of my heart medications, only the rosuvastatin for high cholesterol. And you know what? I let them keep me on it because it's an anti-inflammatory at 20 milligrams. Okay.
So that never hurts, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm literally off of all my
that's really great. I want to ask you, because this is because when it sounds to me like, are you getting it covered through Medicare now, through your Part D for you're not for your heart?
No. Unless you have had, this is the caveat they used. Okay. Unless you have a clinically proven previous heart attack or stroke, or a cardiac calcium score of over a certain number, you will not be covered for cardiac conditions at this time. When we got covered the first time, the rules were not clear. And then what the insurance companies did, and you can ask Dr. Albert about this because he is the master of the prior authorization. What they did was they went back to refer to the studies. And the studies were done on people who had a weight condition and a previous heart attack or stroke.
So that's how they made it up.
So they used the trial studies to say, no. So I have many EKGs, God knows I have AFib, and on many of them it says possible prior anterior infarct. So what that says, and you can ask Dr. Albert, is there could have been
you could have had a heart attack.
But because we can't clinically prove that I had it, and I think we all know women have much different heart attack symptoms than men, it is possible that something had happened at some point when I went into an urgent care or whatever, and by the time I got there, it was over. Anything's possible, but because there's not clinical proof on file, I do not qualify. So under the current Part Plan D insurance plans.
So how are you getting your?
If Dr. Albert's listening, could he please plug his ears?
Okay.
I learned to stack, number one. So in my refrigerator, I do have plenty of prescription, but in order to make that last, I often have to supplement with compound.
Okay. All right. So here's the main thing. So what we were talking about here is we wanted to discuss like people our age and the issues that we have, and obviously longevity is one. But one of the things when we first started talking about wanting to have this conversation and talking about the Bridge program, I originally, long time ago when I first heard about it, I assumed that anyone who needed the medication, this was in the early, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, this is great. Everybody's going to be able to have it and everybody's going to go on it. And as things became clearer, I realized that, it's more complicated than that. And so because I thought when I first heard that you had heart things, I thought, okay, are you being covered for your heart stuff? But you're not even being covered for your heart stuff. So is it possible, do you think that you might be able to be covered did you ever have a BMI that was recorded as high enough without the additional, because that's the high BMI without any other comorbidities? Did you ever have that, and is it on record? Could you be covered?
On record, I probably have a BMI of 32 maybe. Okay. Not 35. Do I have on record being on this medication and having an A1C of 5.7? Yes, there are a few instances of that. When I had my sleep apnea test, which I believe Dr. Albert even tried to read because it was very unclear, it indicated I had sleep apnea, but technically the score has to be over 15.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I was already on the medication when I had the sleep apnea test. So could I get covered under the new rules? It's a long shot. I know my doctor will try. We're going to try.
Yeah.
If they're going to let in pre-diabetes, I have the 5.7s on record, a couple of them, and that's being on the medication. I have the fight.
Yeah, and that's also a much lower BMI for that. So when Dr. Albert comes on, we'll get all the details. I mean, I've been reading up on this like a crazy person because I just need to know. I have friends. I want everyone to know about it, but I'll defer to the doctor since I am not.
No,
a doctor.
I mean, I'm going to defer to the doctors. I have to hope they're not going to know how to do this. Okay. And some of us might slip through. That's my hope, like it did for me the first year before they reverted to the trials, you know, I
they realized, so like so many of us are, I don't know about you, I'm paying out of pocket. I'm going through Lilly Direct, and I just turned 65 in January. My husband is a bit older than I am, and he's retiring at the end of the year. And this is going to make a huge difference in my life to not be paying this amount of money for, you know, an extra, it's silly, but an extra $400 a month is going to make a difference. Like, that's going to be nice. That'll be, you know, an HOA fee or something like that, you know, if we move to a smaller place. So I'm just curious, how, like, if this happens for you, if you're able to get this somehow or another, you're able to get through with the variety of issues that you've got, how's that going to impact your life?
Well, it's going to put a lot of money back in my pocket. I am pretty savvy at shopping for, you know, that thing that Dr. Albert doesn't know about. I'm pretty savvy about it. I learned from the pros, who will remain nameless, doctor, you know, that if I can stay at a lower dose and get a higher dose filled, it's going to last that much longer. That's why I'm able to have a little stash in my refrigerator right now. So I have learned through this community, which I'm not that much in touch with anymore, all the tricks for stocking, for sourcing, you know, lower prices and things like that. It would be a big impact. Now, I don't know if you're aware, since you're just turning 65, that with any Part D plan, if you are on a Part D plan, you have to spend $2,000 a year before everything.
Not with the Bridge Program. Not with the Bridge Program.
The Bridge Program. Not
as a bypass. Is a bypass. Luckily, I have an autoimmune disease, and I have, like, you know, so eventually it, you know, I do meet that very low deductible, 2020, whatever it is, but I do eventually meet it. But the fact that this is a bypass, I know that there are some people who are saying, hey, I'm not going to be able to, because I'm already getting it through Medicare for my sleep apnea or for whatever. But if you're getting it for that, and we'll move to Dr. Albert in a second, but that will go towards that. So they may not be getting it for the 50, it will be going towards, if they're getting it for their sleep apnea, it will be going towards their deductible, which is very important.
Correct. It'll stay with their Plan D plan, because my understanding from the research I've done, and I'm sure your research is better than mine, is that you have to be denied first by your insurance, which I have not had an insurance denial on my new plan.
Well, it's not, and this might be a good time to bring him in, but it's not your insurance, because it's bypassed through a specialty clearinghouse that's doing this. So we'll leave it to, but I just want to say, like, let's just, you know, we'll talk about why it's going to make a difference for a lot of people, but I really appreciate you talking about your experience, because it's very different than what I originally thought this program was going to be. And I'm learning, I'm very fortunate. I'm learning that I am a very fortunate person, because at one time in my life, I did have that BMI that's going to qualify me. And not everybody has. And I know, I really appreciate you telling your story, because people who are coming here want to know, and they really want to know what will qualify them and what won't. So I'm going to turn that over to Kat and Kim again, and
Fantastic.
Dr. Albert back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
DeeDee, I'm curious. I know you mentioned, that's why we've been friends a long time, finding the podcast and learning from the podcast.
Mhm.
I think that there are probably a lot of people, I would say 60 and plus, that probably have a lot of misconceptions or, fears around things like side effects and management of them, what to expect, maybe the kind of care that they'll give. I suspect this will be mostly, well, Dr. Albert, like primary care physicians, which don't always, we're further along than we were 4 years ago, but necessarily know about the complexities of this disease and dosing and everything. So I would love to know if you could just kind of give us some insight there, because I think that somebody is watching or listening right now that either is about to go through this and are trying to understand, right? Or has a loved one, right, that is going to try to, get access or understand if they need or even want access. Could you kind of break that down for us a little bit?
Sure. You have to advocate for yourself, no doubt about it. Many primary care physicians, Dr. Albert excluded, my primary care doctor excluded, don't know everything. In fact, one of my friends lost her insurance coverage. You know this story, Kim. I think I told it to you. And her doctor couldn't get her approved. And I said, this is what you have to write. You had a stroke in 2001. Do you have an x-ray, anything? Yes, I do. I said, this is what you write to your doctor. And she did. And she got approved. And she's on it continually now for the past 2 years through insurance. Okay. So people need to learn as much as they can. Come here to the podcast. Don't just listen to strangers on the internet, except for maybe Deb, okay, and Kim and Kat.
Except for these strangers,
Don't, there's a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is a type 1. All his doctors wanted him on it. He can't be approved through insurance. He gets compound. They don't tell him what to do. He comes to me and I tell him, you need to up your protein, drink your water, do everything. So you have to advocate for yourself. You have to do your own homework, and reach out to people who are on the medication. Don't be afraid to ask us. If and I don't mean me specifically or anybody, but if you know someone on this medication, go to them and ask them, what do you do? How are you doing your side effects? What are you doing? I mean, for example, a lot of people have heartburn. It turns out some people on certain heart medications can't be taking Tums or whatever. I mean, that's stuff you can ask Dr. Albert, so you can't go on and say, oh, take some Tums and get a Prilosec or whatever. They could have a kidney condition that it's going to affect. Okay. So you have to advocate. You have to ask questions, and ask questions of people who are successful on these medications. Again, come here to this podcast. There's always people who are guests on this podcast that you can then follow elsewhere, like Deb and Sabrina. I mean, there's a lot of people, the GLP-1 winner group, all of that. There's a lot of people that come through this podcast that you can then go follow and go find and do your homework, because it's not like you used to do.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not withholding food from yourself. That's not what this is about. If you don't eat, you won't lose. I mean, it's a total reversal. It's a total reversal of everything we've ever been taught.
And I think that is, I don't know if it's unique to, Jen Jones, boomers. I don't know if it is. I think it's X as well. I think, but that when we were told it was time to try and reduce, we were told 1,200 calories a day.
Right.
No matter who you were.
What the fart is that? Like, come on. You can't live on that. And I have friends now who saw what's happening to me, and they were saying, well, I'm eating, and they're telling me, and I'm saying, how much are you eating? Well, it's 1,200 calories. I'm like, no.
Right. That's the first thing. When I know someone who goes on it, the first thing I tell them is
TDEE calculator.
Exactly. TDEE.net. Okay, calculator, and the number will shock you. Okay, but just deal with it. And then I tell them Kim's rule on the 3-bite rule when they claim they can't eat. 3 bites, 3 sips, get it going. I learned that from Kim a long time ago. And that's what I tell people. But I think our generation, in answer to your question, Kim, I think there is still a lot of stigma related to this.
Sure.
I think they're still sort of like, well, I know type 2 diabetics who, changed their diet and did this and did that, and they got off their insulin. Well, yeah, but that doesn't work for everybody. It works for some people. So
we were raised to think that it was, I think even everybody raised to think that it was our fault, that we were weak and we were undisciplined, and all those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
We've just been living with it longer. So when you say, Kim, I think it's different for you. I don't think it is different. It's just more time. That's the difference, is that we've been living with it longer. That's the only difference, because it's the same messaging that we've been getting. You're weak, you're not, you have no discipline, all those kinds of things. And so it's just we've lived with it longer. I think that's a big difference. And so it's harder. It's so ingrained that it's hard to break out.
Yeah, definitely. Back to the 3-bite rule thing with you, DeeDee, just because I want to make sure that someone knew they understand what you meant. It's not only eat 3 bites. The whole idea that I tell people when they struggle with food aversion, which is what she's talking about, where I just can't eat. I just can't. Yes, you can. That's just a feeling, right? And so what I always do is I take 3 bites of protein and 3 sips of water, and my brain reengages. Like, oh yeah, we do need to do this. Let's get in our nutrition. And it's just so much easier just to get over that hump. So I just didn't want anybody to think that I was like, eat 3 bites and then you're done.
No,
Are you doing also?
I did it because we've talked about it. And the other thing is to hydrate. I mean, very often people think they're headachy and they're this and they're that, and there's just simply they're not taking enough liquid in, taking enough water in, and they're going, oh my God, my head, my this, it's not working. And it's like, you're not drinking enough. So, and the doctors, they should be more educated on all of this by now, because I mean, God knows it's on Hulu, it's on everywhere, it's everywhere. Okay. There should be better access for them. But I would just say, do your homework, talk to people that are on the meds and who have been successful on the meds. And just be careful if you're going out there on the internet, because there's a lot of misinformation as well. But
if you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there, because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
"20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise." That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
I want to add really quickly, just the 3 bites, because what I always say now is, when in doubt, drink your protein. So if you can't eat, the thought of putting any, like just chewing, drink it. And if you don't like the milky stuff, get the juicy stuff. But
I'm going to say on these meds, and maybe Kim or somebody can relate, I've really not had that problem. I really never have. I'm not that person that looked at, I I was the person who got satiety, which I like.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to eat, and then I go to eat, and then it's like, okay, well, that's enough, and push it away. Because for me, that's a huge. And
it's not amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It turns
Instead
off
of the
that
whole
fast
plate.
too. You're just kind of like, that's
Yeah,
it.
just done. Just, that
Totally
next
done.
one, you're
Yeah.
just done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's definitely like, I think, an ebb and flow too. And I think, I think what a lot of people, and I find, because when you do lives, people come to you, I really try to tell people language that they can have conversations with their doctor, as opposed to do this because I'm just a girl on the internet. You know what I mean? And I try to say, listen, like, this is what you need to ask for. This is what you know, and I think that's important. So as you go and follow these people, just know, obesity is really complicated. Okay. And it's not your fault. It is biological. There are things that are in your control and there are things that are not. Okay. And this is no matter what age you are. It's important to stay in touch with your doctor and have a care team. It really, really is. It may seem, because we guys have done diet pills and stuff in the past, like Phenermine or Fen or whatever it is. This is not a set it and forget it situation. You're on it and you're treating a disease. And so it's a different mindset. And I think, if you're having side effects and things like that, we have tips and stuff, but you should always be telling your doctor about it. And specifically for those reasons that DeeDee mentioned, issues with kidney, issues with liver, issues with heart, like all of those things.
Heartburn thing, that was,
Yeah, like with my mom's 70, right? And she's on them. And it's important, don't grin and bear it. Like, don't just be like, oh, this is my last chance. This is not, you're not supposed to be super sick. And there are ways around it. If your doctor knows what they're doing, they can adjust your dose, they can help you manage those side effects, about managing them, so I think that's really important. And of course the protein and stuff, but again, don't eat what protein I tell you. Your doctor knows, right? Your doctor knows because they've done tests and blood work and then your medical history, right? So when we say things on this podcast with doctors, we're giving ish, right? But your doctor knows your medical history. So those things are important. And don't just like listen to a bunch of trainers telling you stuff either. This is a disease, and your health's really important. So I just want to make sure you guys have someone you can relate with, some people you can follow. I think we should probably talk a little bit more about the science and why this is important. And then also go into talking about the Bridge program and just get some rapid fire Q&A, guys, so we can cut this and put it out and you guys know exactly what's coming. Does that sound good?
Yes, sounds good.
Absolutely.
So please hang out with us. And thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Albert. Welcome in.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We need a pause. We need a pause effect. Well, yeah. So sorry about that, Dr. Albert. But yes. Anyway.
Well, we're glad to have you
back.
We're so glad to have you back. If you could tell us, for people who, most people, like, they go back and watch season 1 and they've seen you on there a couple of times, but tell us a little bit about who you are and how you help people outside of DeeDee.
Absolutely. Happy to. So I'm an obesity medicine physician by training. Currently, I'm the chief medical officer and a staff physician at a clinic called Vineyard. That's a national telehealth direct care clinic that helps people manage their weight and kind of broad cardiometabolic health issues. I'm also I hate using the term, but people use it, a health influencer, however you want to think about that, content creator at Michael Albert MD. And that's how a lot of people know me, from the content I put out into the world. So
I love that. Yeah. Dr. Albert has been with us since the OG days. He was one of the first doctors that was going, hey guys, you want to look at these studies? Let me tell you what's actually going on here. It's a bunch of crap they've been telling you all these years, And so he's go back and listen to our first episode of the podcast and our last episode, because we talk about it quite a bit. I will say one of the best things I ever heard you say, Dr. Albert, is we would take insulin resistance more seriously if we would call type 2 diabetes what it actually is, which is organ failure. And that was like, I don't feel like anybody says that. And that is a big deal. And this is something to be taken seriously. It really is. So we're so glad to have you. I would really like people to understand a little bit, because we've been talking a lot about Medicare and insurance baloney and all of that different stuff. But I think that this is a big deal, what's happening here, right? In terms of having it covered on Medicare for obesity at all. And could you kind of like explain to us why, and then maybe where this could go, once and if it is covered?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize the sort of, backdrop that all of this is happening on. Like, historically, Medicare has treated obesity medicine access differently than treatments for every other chronic disease, right? And so when Part D was passed, Part D being the pharmacy benefit that sets formularies for Medicare beneficiaries, it written into the law excluded medicines for weight management, which they really framed as cosmetic for weight loss at the time. And that had to do with a lot of the legacy bias around diet pills and diet eras and the like. And it wasn't until later that, CMS, the American Medical Association, formally came out and made statements and resolutions to the effect that obesity is a biological, chronic health issue, chronic disease, and needs to be afforded the treatment that all other chronic diseases are afforded. And so the issue we ran into is we're dealing with legacy statutes within the sort of description of benefits for our seniors, and that has to be redone, updated, changed for it to meaningfully sort of percolate, in the market. And the relevance in all of this is that this is the first time since Part D was passed in 2003 that the government has committed to covering obesity medications for the specific intent of helping people manage their weight long term. Aside from that, it's only been covered for non-obesity conditions. And so what we're hoping to see is over the next few years, the government's running this unique program. They're calling it a national pilot or demonstration. And what's unique about it is it's separate from the core Part D benefit. And this is super important for people to understand. Their $50 a month copay, which will be part of their participation in this program, is carved out from their Part D. It will not go to their out-of-pocket. It will not go towards their deductible. Everyone needs to think about the Bridge Program as its own entity. It's going through its own railways, and it's being judged and evaluated completely separate from Part D and traditional Part D benefits. But if it's successful, when they look at the data, when they look at utilization, health benefits, claims data, and the like, the implications are massive. Because if CMS starts to cover obesity medications long-term for long-term use, for weight management specifically, then typically what happens in the market is that commercial payers, self-funded employer plans will follow suit. So this could be the catalyst for a change in the way that obesity medication coverage and access is looked at and operationalized moving forward. And so that's the significance. The significance of this is it potentially could be a watershed moment in the way that we cover and allow access and support access to these medicines.
I remember you said that the train has left the station on our first episode. And I would say arguably the train is getting ready. So
it's chugging good.
It's so great because it's not only going to, impact people who are in this. Like I'm thinking, and I'm saying this to DeeDee, it's wonderful. I'm thrilled that I'm fortunate. I think I'm going to be covered, but I'm thinking about the impact it's going to have on so many other people if this thing goes. Like it's just amazing. So
did that happen with? I'm just curious. Did that bariatric surgery with Medicare before, Dr. Albert, that you know about? Like, did they cover bariatric surgery?
It has had coverage for a while now. It has pretty strict requirements and things that you have to meet to be eligible. But there has been legacy coverage for bariatric surgery. There's even been coverage for obesity counseling through something called intensive behavioral therapy. I would just say, like, the way that these programs were supported by CMS and the government has been really poor. So even though there has been coverage, what you're seeing with the bridge is a real commitment, where essentially the government is going to be paying per month, like 80% of the cost of the drug. The beneficiary is going to be picking up the other 20%. That's a significant commitment. And so I think this is on some level unprecedented in terms of, the government's commitment to support access.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking a lot about sort of the difference here, right, with different generations and, how telling somebody to eat more protein that maybe has issues. I think at any age that probably matters. But How is it different when you're, 65 plus, if you're starting on these medicines, than maybe it is, for someone that's 30?
Yeah, I mean, just to set the context, there is no age limit on treating your health, on treating your weights. Sometimes this is viewed as something that is really reserved for a certain age group or certain. If there is a real medical indication, regardless of your age, and we're seeing this now too, people are getting more comfortable with adolescent treatment and pediatric obesity treatment. But on the other end of the spectrum, for our seniors, for the elderly, you absolutely can treat your disease at any stage, any era of your life. And so that's really important sort of context for talking about this. But it does matter because typically, an aging population, there are more concerns around complications related to medication use. The therapeutic window is typically narrow, so the margin of error is smaller. So there needs to be more sensitivity to that. There's often more complexity around their baseline health in terms of the other comorbid conditions, their functional health and independence, right? All of these things have to be considered. And so it can be on some level a little more complex and require more sensitivity, because the reality is these drugs, they're not getting less effective. If we look at the trend from when they came out, they're only becoming more potent. And as we've seen with some of the recent data that's come out for one of the new investigational drugs, retatrutide, there's real rates of complications and side effects in that. And it has a lot to do with the potency of the drug, right? Like you don't get something without getting something, So I think we just need to be sensitive to that. I'm hopeful that clinics who are utilizing these therapies in their Medicare patients will have the right infrastructure, nursing support, whatever it is that they need to have, because these drugs can have side effects and people can have complications and need support. You guys were talking a lot about some of those issues earlier in the podcast, but it's real, and it's even more real for our elderly patients, where we really want to be making sure we're enhancing their health, that we're not causing more problems than we're solving for.
Okay. What sort of precautions should our older adults take to preserve their muscle, bone density, overall strength and health while they're on these medications and losing weight?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue it's a non-negotiable, although I'm sure, reasonable people would disagree. Exercise, like strength training on this to really preserve kind of your muscle and your bone integrity and function, right? Really getting adequate protein. There's been a lot of revision around the protein guidance for elderly, where they've actually revised it up to a higher minimum requirement now. And I think that's a reflection that an aging body still needs adequate building blocks, right? And what dietary protein is, it's providing that fuel and building block for those functional tissues, right? The muscle and bone and what have you. And so I think from my standpoint, making sure that you're getting appropriate nutrition, enough diversity so you can meet your nutritional requirements, because the reality is everyone knows, you guys have talked about it all the time on the podcast, you eat less food. And the risk that comes with that is if you're not getting enough nourishment now because you're eating just an absolute lower amount of food, well, that's when deficiencies can start. And I've seen them in my patients when we've had vitamin deficiencies and things that we've had to correct. So making sure you're getting adequate nutrition and working with a group that's monitoring it, you're getting adequate physical stimulus, adequate aerobic stimulus, you're doing your strength training, you're walking, you're running, whatever your flavor is. And then, and within that, you're getting enough protein. And I think, once again, for the Medicare population, that's critically important, because their therapeutic range is going to be much more narrow. And once again, you're going to have to be even more careful with them. But it doesn't mean that they can't benefit, right? Like, I'm not trying to sound, raise the alarm like this is such a big problem, but it definitely needs thought. And it's, as Kim said earlier, it's not a set and forget plan. I've used that phrase a lot to describe how people can benefit from it. It takes active management. But there's tremendous benefit if used the right way.
Yeah. I think with a full care team that knows about it, I think that's good.
Totally.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Also, with many of our listeners, they receive their GLP-1s through their PCP or primary care physicians. How can they advocate for the care that they need when it comes to these drugs with this new program?
I think you guys framed a lot of it really well earlier in the podcast, but just to kind of restate some of those things, it is important you be your own advocate, because there's going to be varying levels of support across different clinic types. You should educate yourself on what some of the basic needs are for someone who's taking a medication like this. You should be engaging your provider for support or answers on certain topics. So these are things like, what are your goals for treatment beyond weight loss, right? Some people can call them non-scale victories. They could be related to improvements in other health conditions. How are you monitoring for side effects? Hydration, adequate nutrient intake, physical function. What should I do if I feel like I can't eat enough? Is there a way to get a hold of you? Should we have a conversation? How should I manage my constipation, nausea, fatigue, reflux symptoms? What do we do if I plateau? What if my coverage changes? How do we address that? Like, these are all questions that you should be familiar with and engage your provider and your clinical team around. Sometimes it's even important to say, like, are you even comfortable having this conversation or being able to manage this? Or should I be seeking out a specialist, like an obesity medicine clinician? Typically, I've found primary care doctors, some are more comfortable than others and are willing to kind of at least say, hey, yeah, I'm waving the white flag. I'm probably not the best person for that, but I'm more than willing to support you and encourage you to go work with, a specialist or someone else. And the last thing I would say is just like, have your documentation, right? Like, know your prior weight history. What was your highest weight you ever achieved? This is particularly important for the bridge qualifications. Your medication history, your comorbidities, your lab results, your pharmacy information. All of this is going to need to be reported and handed over to your medical team. They're going to need to document it as part of a bundle for the authorization that they're going to submit to the central processor who CMS is using. So this needs to be captured in the documentation. It's critical. I can't state that enough. If your highest previous weight and highest previous BMI are not captured, if your weight loss history is not captured, if the medications you've been taking during any prior trials aren't captured, if your health status isn't captured in terms of what chronic health issues you have, even if they're well controlled, that still needs to be captured. This is all things that people need to be writing down and bringing to their doctor, or at least discussing, so their doctor can capture that information and submit it during the authorization process.
I imagine that's probably a good practice to probably start looking for that now.
Yes, start now. There's it's never too early to start digging out your sleep reports, like DeeDee said, finding your lab test that had an A1C that puts you in the prediabetes range, like all that stuff. Like, start it now while you have time. Program goes live July 1st, so it's going to be here right around the corner.
I have another question, and I know DeeDee said we have to be delicate about this topic with Dr. Albert. So some of us are on GLPs now, let's say, and they are interested in the Bridge program. Would compounding, or let's say a telehealth that has provided a way to get that the compounding, is that counted as your medical records as well for the Bridge program?
Yeah, you get credit for it for sure. It's part of your medical history. A compounded medicine is a medication, so it is part of your story. Now, does that mean you could stay on a compound at the Bridge price and the government pay for that? They're only paying for FDA approved products that were part of the negotiated. Yeah. So that would not translate, but your history absolutely translates. Your history follows you. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, I think let's do some rapid fire Medicare Bridge program questions. That way I can chop this up and put it all over the internet and help people. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
So I think we talked about it a little bit in the top half, but if we can just summarize real quickly, what is the Medicare Bridge program?
It's a short-term CMS demonstration that provides eligible Medicare Part D beneficiaries with access to certain GLP-1 medications to help them manage their weight and maintain that. And that's really important because CMS uses that language specifically, which is a big deal. Maintain weight as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Program starts July 1st, 2026, and it runs through December 31st of 2027. To be eligible, to be considered, you must be enrolled in a Part D program. All right. If you're in another program that's not Part D, then you are not eligible. And age is not a restriction. There are some people, because of disability, because of particular medical conditions, that have Medicare benefits and are younger than 65. It's age agnostic. It has to do with enrollment status in Part D.
Okay. So who will qualify for GLP-1s in the Medicare Bridge Program?
So typically it's framed as people that have a certain BMI level, and the lowest level that qualifies is 27 with certain comorbidities like prediabetes, chronic kidney disease, or a BMI greater than 30. If you have a BMI that has separate coverage indication through Part D, not BMI, a condition with separate coverage, like diabetes, like prior history of heart attack, stroke, or peripheral arterial disease, like obstructive sleep apnea of moderate severity, then you are not allowed to use the Bridge program. So at least not for the specific medication that has that Part D coverage. They're really trying to make that distinction. So really the Bridge program is for people that have a qualifying BMI, have a comorbidity that CMS recognizes that doesn't have a traditional coverage policy around. Those are the people really that they're trying to steer Bridge to. And so they are drawing that distinction. This doesn't overlap with traditional Part D coverage. If you can qualify for treatment through Part D, then they're going to steer you towards that, and you won't be eligible for this new program.
Dr. Albert, you were mentioning the 27, and then you said 30, and there were additional comorbidities with 30, but there's also 35 and above with no additional comorbidities. That's correct, right?
Yeah, I mean, to get the specifics, there's a lot of different ways you can qualify.
Okay.
Definitely go through the whole rundown,
Right.
Because it depends on your threshold. I think the basic way that people can think about it is, did you at least have a BMI of 27? Mm-hmm. There are nuances around the qualifying comorbidity status. But just as a general rule, I think that's a place to start for people to think about and have a conversation around. Their doctor, their clinician, whoever they're working with, is going to have to help them figure out if they also have a qualifying comorbidity for their BMI history. But I think it's probably the easiest for people to think about, well, if I at least have a BMI of 27, there's probably a conversation that's worthwhile to have around this.
Okay. And then I know we talked about documentation, but let's put it here so we have it. So documentation that you may need to qualify or that you want to get together would be lab work, several things you mentioned. Were there? Yeah.
Baseline weight, baseline BMI, date of therapy initiation, like if you've been on GLP-1 in the past, what is your current weight? Do you have any obesity related comorbidities? Your medication history, any other prior, weight loss efforts. Mm-hmm. That getting all that information along with the labs, as you stated, is going to be important to put together as part of a documentation package for the authorization. And so what you can do is you can, do some work to find that information and then either share it directly with the clinic or provide it verbally during your, assessment visit. And then they can obviously document it and put that information together as part of the submission process.
Okay. So if you think you qualify for some of these things we've talked about, the first step for you to take would be to gather this and then make an appointment with your doctor. Does that sound right?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. What are some common hurdles that patients might face when they're seeking coverage through the program?
The one we've already highlighted is, the distinction between qualifying for Bridge versus one of the standard Part D coverage qualifications, right? So if you're someone that your doctor is going to need to help you figure out, but it really has to do with, do you meet criteria that is currently approved for one of the specific agents that Part D does cover? So it would be a non-weight related condition. Other issues that people are going to run in is just not having this information documented. So like it needs to be documented in the note that's submitted with the authorization. So you might have to advocate to your doctor or nurse practitioner, whoever is seeing you, to make sure they're capturing that and they're submitting it along. If you have fractured documentation, that's what always gets automatic denials, requests for additional follow-up. It's going to delay approvals, slow everything down. I think recognizing that it's a fixed cost, right? And the cost doesn't go towards your out-of-pocket or your deductible, right? So you're paying $50 a month. There's not an additional responsibility on top of that. It's a flat 50 and the government's picking up the rest. And I think just, with everything, just making sure that the pharmacies process this correctly. One of the things I'm concerned about is the implementation of this. There's been a lack of clarity. It's been a little bit confusing on what the right sequence is in order for people to qualify. I'm not going to try to confuse people too much, but it may be true that before you can get a prior authorization processed, that your doctor or your nurse practitioner or whoever has to send a prescription to the pharmacy that's going to be filling it, and a claim needs to be generated and actually rejected initially. And that's what CMS has said. That's been a little bit odd. My understanding and my read on that is the reason that you need a pharmacy claim that is initially created and denied or rejected is because it creates that history around it that the CMS is then using to monitor the bridge qualification. So it's just like creating a ticket. You become, the system is now aware of you. And then on the back side of that, after the claim gets rejected, the prior authorization can be submitted. And I think it has to do with the funky way how they're taking this off the railways of Part D, and it's in its own separate category and has to be processed uniquely. So I'm sure we'll get clarity. As with all things, especially with the government, there's very, clunky implementation. So I think we're all going to still be learning, but that might, trip some people up because maybe they're not used to sending a prescription first before the prior authorization. And so that may be something you have to educate your doctor about, that, hey, you might, in order to kick this thing off, you might have to send an initial prescription. That prescription get denied at the pharmacy, and then the prior auth submitted on the backside of that. So those are some of the hurdles I'm worried about for people, but hopefully, we'll get more clarity on that in the coming weeks as it's implemented.
I think that's really good because I agree. Think about how many people get it rejected for these treatments ever. And then they think, oh, I'm done. They didn't even bother appealing, right? Or exhausting their appeals. And we should always hear me out. Always exhaust your appeals. Okay. You have rights. Okay. I know we covered this a little bit, but are there any special eligibility or documentation considerations for patients who have previously paid cash for treatment, used telehealth services, or received compounded medications? I think the answer was that's all part of your medical history, right?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't preclude you from qualifying for Bridge if you meet the standard criteria. And it's certainly a credit to your history, so if you're someone that's done compounded, you've done whatever, and you've lost a bunch of weight, you still get credit for that. So you should still be using your starting weight and BMI as your reference weight during the submission. So that's probably an area where some clinics are going to get tripped up. They're going to use the current weight in BMI, and it's not going to qualify you, especially if you're someone like Kat who's lost a lot of weight in the past. If it's not represented your history the right way and documented as such, then you're not going to get credit for it.
Yeah. For listeners who didn't or don't qualify for the Medicare Bridge Program, what options are available to them today, and what steps would you encourage them to take next?
Yeah, so there are a few options. One would be, do you cover for another, do you have any coverage for another indication like type 2 diabetes, like some of the cardiovascular pathways? We have a new indication for Wegovy, which is stage 2, stage 3 fibrotic liver disease, also called MASH. Sleep apnea is one that's gotten a lot of attention with Zepbound for an expanded Zepbound indication. So can you be covered for something else? Once again, many of those are covered under commercial plans for those kind of other indications. There are a number of cash pay options now where pharmacies, even pharmacies affiliated with the manufacturers, offer like direct pay and have transparent pricing on many of the FDA approved GLP-1s. There are non-GLP-1 therapies that are currently generic medicines or have branded alternatives that you can pay cash for right now if you don't qualify. So there are a range of medication therapy options now that expand beyond, just needing to have insurance coverage.
Yeah. And I think things to consider like that, we've talked about before, things like Contrave and Qsymia, like these older anti-obesity medications. And I think what also is important, guys, is 4 years ago when we were going through this medicine was $1,400 a month, and now it's, $350 to $500. So even though that's quite outrageous, we've come a long way in a short amount of time. Right. And the fact that you have these options available that are brand, like, everybody knows, I just want you to get safe medicine. Right. And now we have good care. Right. But there are a lot of options, like there are. And I don't think people know about them. I mean, I think one of the other ones to mention is there's a generic, I don't know how much it costs now, liraglutide. That was the first one I was on, and so that's a daily one, but I experienced no food noise on it. I lost weight on that. I experienced inflammation reduction on that. So I think that one gets kicked out of bed a lot. But honestly, sometimes it's just to be right what is best for you. And now the Wegovy pill that has come out, right? Even I want to say like $150 a month to get started, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I don't know it depends on when you're watching this, but regardless, none of these are, ideal prices, right? But it's way better than $1,400 a month. So I don't want people to freak out and still think, because they haven't really been, in the land of TikTok with us, right, that these are still $1,400 a month and that's your only option. There are options. There are good options. Okay. So it's focus on getting good care first. That'll all fall into place. I promise. Okay. I think we had one last question. Let's see. All right. So I think we may have read this. For Medicare beneficiary listening today who has spent years struggling with weight and may blame themselves, what would you want them to know about weight?
I mean, what I would want them to know is that obesity is not a character flaw. It is not a failure of willpower. It is a chronic, biologically mediated disease that is heavily influenced by genetics, your physiology, the medications you take, the environment you live in, your sleep, your age, your hormones, your mobility, a range of factors. And many people have been told their whole lives to try harder when what they actually needed was just evidence-based treatment. And so, I think now what we're seeing is the turning of the tide in terms of society recognizing this as something that deserves treatment. And it's not something that's, oh, yay, like you guys get the privilege of having access to this. It's like, you always deserve this, right? So I think we're seeing that change. It's never as fast as we want, but it feels inevitable. We're seeing it brick by brick being laid down. So it does give me a lot of hope. Even to go back to the train metaphor, I think it does have a feeling of inevitability around it. And certainly I want it to have happened yesterday. But I think Bridge is a representation of this continued progress. And for that, I'm hopeful and grateful.
Yeah. I'm hopeful and grateful too. We've come a long way in a short amount of time. And when it comes to medicines for things like this, it's just not the case. So we've had a lot of progress. Yeah. I love that too. The only thing I would say, and we can go around the horn if there's anything you want to say, but is that when it comes to strength training, I think it's very common for people to think that you need to go in the gym and be heavy lifting. Guys, you would be so surprised, of just using your body as resistance and using resistance bands and kettlebells at home. You know what I mean? There's also friends get on the internet, get on YouTube. Kat and I do exercises on here. We have little workout sessions where we do things and stretch, especially if you have mobility issues. Don't think that you just got to go diet culture the shit out of it and pop into a gym at 65 plus years old. And then if you can't do that, that means you can't do strength training. Not true. Lots of things. Go to Google, search different things. You'll see videos and all this stuff for free to help you with that. Okay. Not just here, anywhere. So that's one thing. Really important. Really important.
Countless amounts of, I would say, tutorials and how-tos, people who are new or who are injured or who are that can't move out of their chair. There's a plethora of videos and how-tos out there.
Deb, what about you and DeeDee? Did you guys have any like common misconceptions when you were getting started that like you would want people to know about as our closing thoughts? That are like bullshit. Leading the witness, I know.
I guess for me, it was that the diet culture piece was still there, that you were just going to stay on a diet, but now you were going to have help with a medication. And it's not that. It's the food noise. I mean, I remember going to the refrigerator and wondering what was wrong with me the day the food noise shut off. It is something that until you experience that, you can't wrap your head around it, pardon the pun. But it just falls into place and then it makes it easier. But I did want to mention one thing, and Dr. Albert could bring in on it, is when we're talking about older people need to have the movement and do the strength training and all of that. When we lose muscle over 65, it is very difficult, if I'm not mistaken, to regain muscle as you get older. And I think for many people who suffer from obesity and are aging at the same time, it's a bad combination. They probably think they can't move because they haven't in so long. And so, like Kat said, start with a chair exercise or something. But once you lose the muscle, it's very difficult to gain it back. You can do it, but you got to work at it.
Start early. Yeah, don't wait and be like, start now. Seriously, start now. Start before you even get approved. It's start right. Sit in your chair, resistance bands,
Yes.
What about you, Deb? Any final thoughts?
Well, similar. I think, the thing that I had gotten enough of a reality check about the fact that I knew that diet culture was BS. Like, I recognized that. I still struggled, but I knew it was BS. At what I'm hearing from so many friends who are of my age and older, and then some who are younger who are coming up, just in any age, really. I don't even think it's exclusive to our age, is that sense of that it must be restriction, that it's the language of calorie deficit is very different than restriction. And I think to look at the TDEE calculator, it was incredibly, as DeeDee and I were saying, to look at the TDEE calculator and see what the requirements are for maintaining your weight, and then cut back anywhere from 500 to even, I had one friend who was, I said, you don't even have to cut back 500. You could cut back 200. It'd take longer for it to go off. But, don't suffer. Don't suffer. That's the thing, that for so many years we suffered and we restricted. And if these, I know that there's a percentage of the population right now that do not have success with these medications. And so that breaks my heart. But those of us who are lucky enough to have some success with these medications, I say, once you're being supported, once you have that sort of base underneath you and the food noise goes away and you get some satiety, don't suffer. There's no need to suffer with this. It'll take what it takes to drop whatever it is that you've accumulated over the years, but it took you a long time to get there. It'll come off. It'll come off if you're one of the lucky ones who it's working for. Don't suffer. There's no reason to suffer.
There's no glory in pain.
There is no glory in pain, Kat Carter. That is for
That's my older sister's quote. But yes, there's no glory in pain.
Thank you, Kat Carter's older sister.
Yeah.
I think for me too, like, I want everybody to understand that something I've learned from Dr. Albert, like, since the beginning, right? And he makes great content. Go watch it. Like, your weight's regulated here. Like, it's a regulation center. You have it's like a thermostat, right? And so it's trying to always pull you back to this, what he calls the set weight, or what they call the set weight, right? Which is probably the biggest weight you've ever been, right? And that's not up to you. That's just not up to you. And you can restrict and you can exercise and all the things, but the chances that it's going to come back are high. And that's one of the probably biggest reasons you are where you're at. Okay. So you have to, get the help that you need. And I think also too, like Deb mentioning that there are people that maybe this doesn't work for. Just because one does not work for you does not mean another one won't. These are synthetic versions of these hormones. Okay. So just don't, like, if you may be like, oh, this one makes me too sick. Right. Or, oh, this one I didn't lose any weight on. I was on it 6 months. Just because one does it? Because I mean, like, one of them is GLP-1, another one's GIP. Like, there's with GIP. So like, they affect people differently. So don't just be like, one didn't work, I'm done. Talk with your doctor. Stay in connection with your providers and your care team, right? And any other specialists that you may have, like, keep them all in the loop. It's a lot to take on, but it matters, and you matter, and you're worthy of care and worthy of treatment. And you should have to, like, slink off and be doing this stuff on your own. Okay. So, that's what we fight for. Anybody got anything else?
I think
we're saying anything wrong. I have to gut check with my doctor friends. I'm like, did I screw that up? Was that right? I'm trying to oversimplify things, What do you think? Good episode?
I think we did. A great job.
We did? All right.
So
Dr. Albert, can you tell us where people can find you, like with your socials, if people want to see you possibly as a doctor, where they can go?
Yeah, I'm at Michael Albert MD on all my socials, and I'm on most platforms. And I practice at Vineyard. So you could go to joinvineyard.com if you want to be a patient of ours. We've got a great team there, and we'd be happy to care for you.
Awesome. All right, everybody.
Great. This was wonderful.
Good show. Thank you for this lovely conversation. Friends, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We'll do our best to get you with doctors that on the show that we trust. Okay. And that's a wrap. We'll see you next week. Hasta la pasta.
Hasta la pasta.
If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there, because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper. With results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster. Confidence higher. Price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.